Tribe, how you guys doing? Welcome back for another retro review. This is A Different World Season 3 Episode 15. And I think that this is so appropriate for this, our first day of Black History Month. So, this is the episode. Once again, we have some guest stars in this episode. We have Felicia Rashad coming in as Claire Huxtable. And we also have her then husband, Ahmad Rashad. He'll be later on in the episode. We'll get there. So, Claire Huxtable is coming back to Hillman to help for the career development program. We've seen her a couple of times come through and do interview skills and things like that. And so this time she's videotaping and talking to them about their future and helping them with interview questions to help them get ready to leave Hillman and move into corporate America. And so everybody is sitting around dealing with their own level of anxiety. Kim is totally losing it. Whitley is being Whitley. Dwayne is nervous, but he like, oh, me and Miss Huxtable, we cool. And damn, Ron is flirting and being so inappropriate. I mean, so inappropriate with Miss Huxtable. And then we have Freddie. Everybody is dressed in their best suits and makeup and hair. And Freddie comes in there looking like she just rolled out of bed. And Freddie said, listen, I am working on a very important anthropology project, okay? I'm doing some archaeology digs, and I ain't really got time for this. And she even, she says, listen, she asked, Miss Huxtable, she said, I don't know, what's the purpose of all this? And she said, well, actually, the purpose of this is to help you get ready to leave Hillman. And she said, but I didn't come here to find a job. I came here to get an education. And I respect what you're doing, but this isn't for me. And she says, well, listen, ain't nobody tying you to that seat. If you ready to go, you can go. And Freddie leaves, and Freddie says, I realized that I was looking at the blueprints, and I realized that the basement in Gilbert Hall, the basement that we have today, doesn't match the blueprint. And so she's like, I'm on a mission to figure out why there's a discrepancy in the blueprint. So then she talks to Whitley. She talks to Whitley Gilbert, and of course Whitley comes in like she's got it all together. But the more and more she talks, the more and more Claire Huxtable is like, so Whitley, are you ready to graduate? I mean, have you applied for any jobs? Have you done anything? And she said, well, yeah, my mama's going to help me with this, and my mama's going to help me with that, and my mama's going to do this. And she said, but Whitley, what is it that you're going to do? What are you ready for? And, of course, Whitley kind of comes to the realization that she's not quite ready for any of it. And she said, well, maybe you need to go down to the career center. That's what they're there for, to help you. Whitley's talking about something. Ain't that for poor people? No, baby. That's for people who need a job. And come spring, you gonna need a job. Okay? So then we see Mr. Gaines come through. He brings her, lunch, and he's being his normal Mr. Gaines self, laughing and joking or whatever. Then we have Jaleesa come through. Now, Jaleesa got it all together. Jaleesa wants to be this in the next 6 months. She wants to be this by the time she's 25. She wants to be married by the time she's this, and have her children by the time she's that, be a VP by the time she's that. I mean, she's got it all laid out. And when she gets done talking, Miss Huxtable is like, okay, all right, Jaleesa. And so then, Jaleesa says, yeah, I got it all figured out in my head, but can I really do that? And Miss Huxtable was like, well, what do you mean? She said, can I have the career and the family? Can I do what I'm saying I want to do? And she tells her, she says, listen, I firmly believe that whatever you decide and you set your mind to, you can make happen. She said, but understand something. It's not going to be that easy. It's going to take some sacrifice, and it's going to take a whole lot of working and figuring it out. You can be the career woman with the family, but it doesn't come without a cost. It doesn't come without you making some sort of sacrifice. I mean, that's just the reality of it, And so they have a really good conversation about life and the reality of the working mom. The working mom. It was a good conversation. So then Ron comes through there, and of course he comes through there with his normal bravado and his normal, swag, and he's flirting and stuff. And she talks to him about what he's going to do after graduation. Well, my dad's got a job lined up for me. I'm going to work at the dealership. I'm going to do this, and I'm going to do that, and I'm going to do this. And then he starts talking about his dad, how his dad could sell, ice to Eskimos. And his dad just had this swagger about himself. And then he says, he gets real kind of solemn, and he's like, but my dad kind of maybe does a little too much with the female customers, and I know my mom doesn't like it, but you know, she sort of doesn't say anything. She sort of lets him do his own thing, and I know my sisters, it makes them uncomfortable, and I want to be a good salesman, but I don't want to be the kind of salesman that he is. And I think he's able to come to some sort of realization in that moment that his flirting and his womanizing is kind of like his dad. Now, he doesn't come right out and say his dad cheats on his mom, but he pretty much says that. He stops short of really using that language, but he says it. And that's the first time we really kind of get that side of Ron. That's the first time we really see that. Now, while that's going on, back down to the basement in Gilbert Hall, Freddie is tearing up the basement, and Walter comes down there, and he's like, yo, Freddie, what are you doing? And she said, Walter, I'm telling you, I really think I'm onto something. She's taking the bricks out of the wall, and she convinces him. She said, I really think I have found, if I'm looking, she said, if I'm correct, there's something behind this wall. There's a room behind this wall, and for whatever reason, it was left off of the roof. It's boarded up, but there's something behind this wall. And then she says, Walter says, well, what do you mean there's something behind this wall? She said, listen, please, Walter, let me just, test out my theory. If I'm wrong, I'll put everything back the way I found it, but I really need to figure this out. I really need to test out my theory. And so they remove a couple of bricks, and yes, absolutely, there's a room behind the wall, and, Freddie was like, oh my gosh. So she opens it up, and they go inside, and she says, oh my goodness, I think we have found a part of the Underground Railroad. And the room is, it's got the cobwebs and all of that, and it's got a ladder that goes up, and she said, this must be a trapdoor that's in the lobby, like we're underneath the lobby right now. And she's looking around, and there's some artifacts in there, and then of course she's like, don't touch anything. And Walter was like, well, let me go get your professor and get him to come over here to kind of look at this, because of course this is beyond what a student can do. So she got to go get the professor, who ends up being Amar Rashad. And he comes in, and he pretty much confirms. Listen, you found it. Like, he does his little testing and everything, and they find a Bible, and he tells her, he said, Freddie, he said, you have absolutely hit the jackpot here. Like, you have found a treasure, and you need to be, he said, now it's on you. Like, you found it, it's your discovery, it's yours. You got to be ready to talk about it. We're going to do all the work and preserve it. You got to go before, the landmark committee, and you got to, he said, this is on you, but it's a fabulous thing that you did, but this is on you. And of course, Freddie is like, oh my gosh. And now while this is going on, Claire is still interviewing folk. Kim comes through there, and y'all know Kim. Listen, Kim is overwhelmed. Kim is, the minute she starts talking, she starts crying, and she's talking about how she just tries to do so much, and she's trying to be every woman, and she's just so nervous about just not being successful at what she has set out to do and set out to be, and again, Claire talks to her about, girl, you don't have to be every woman. Like, it's okay. You don't have to do everything, be on every committee, be in every club. It's okay. You just, it's all right. Last but not least, Dwayne Wayne comes through there. And they have a good conversation, because, Dwayne kind of already got it figured out, right? But then Dwayne ends up having a conversation with her about being in love with somebody that might not be the best idea, that might not be the best decision. And she was like, who? I know you're not talking about. He was like, Willie Gilbert. And she said, oh, Lord. But she has a conversation with him about it, and he opens up to her about his feelings and about how, it's a crazy thing. It's probably some crazy feelings, but that he really, truly knows that, he really has feelings for her. So we're starting to see all these different, this really sort of opened us up to other people, like the different, situations that everybody has going on. So at the end of the day, Claire goes over to, with over to Gilbert Hall to see the exhibit. She said, and I had to come and see what the buzz was. I had to come and see for myself. She said, I ain't gonna lie. Earlier today when I was talking to you, baby, I was feeling sorry for your parents because I was thinking to myself, I don't know what she got going on. I don't know what she thinking. She talking about something. She ain't come to school to get a job. She came just to get an education, and she was talking about the corporate America being the bad guys and all this stuff. And she said, but what you have done here, Freddie, is remarkable. Like words just don't even describe it. And what we find out is that they were able to trace that there was another stop of the Underground Railroad about 10 miles from there. It was a hotel, an old hotel that was also a stop of the Underground Railroad. And they said, well, that makes sense because, again, when it came to the Underground Railroad, there really was no rhyme or reason for it. There was a series of stations, and if you knew, you knew. You had to be in the know to know. And in some places, there was some networks, because it wasn't all one big happy family. There were different networks that were operating. And so there might have been a house here, and there might have been another house down the road, but because they weren't communicating, because they couldn't really trust each other, they didn't know they were both stops. You understand what I'm saying? And so they were able to confirm that. And so we leave, the episode ends, and it was a great episode, but the episode leaves off with a picture. They pan in on, there was some shackles in there. They had found shackles in the room. So it was a really good episode, and definitely coincides with Black History Month. I'm sure that this excuse me, in its original airing, this episode aired during Black History Month. So anyway, let me know what y'all think. Drop it in those comments. Peace.